Hello, hello, hello. Today's going to be not necessarily a shorter video, but a video covering a lot more things in a lot less depth. We're going to be going over the best single prizer available for every single type in Pokemon's trading card game. So let's get started nice and quickly because of course I don't want to waste too much time, and I also want you to see a whole bunch of deck lists. And I'll be going over a few recommendations per list and where I got them from as well. For those of you who are familiar with Pokemon, single prizer decks are decks where every knockout you take only gives up one prize, unlike EXs that give up 2 and Megas that give up 3. And so you can generally win a prize race by just giving up less for more value. Let's start off with Ethan's Typhlosion. It is a deck list that was created by Gavin Chen, and this would have been used in the most recent NAIC. 4/4 Typhlosion line, 2/2 Dracloak in order to get some sustainable draw available, Black Belt's Training, and Brave Bangle in order to hit some really high numbers onto pretty much any Pokemon around. Really good consistency in terms of the Pokemon line, redeemable ticket to have access to all 4 Ethan's Adventure every game, 2 copies of Victini for more damage fixing, a Kieran for more damage fixing, 2 Boss, basically lots of board control. A few recommendations for this list based on personal testing is Prism Tower, being able to discard your Ethan's Adventure more aggressively and get another outlet off Secret Box is very nice, and more Pokepad in order to find your Dracloak is very nice as well. For fighting, we have Okidogi. This is a list by Aaron Tucker, and it is a very, very streamlined list, all things considered. 4 Okidogi, 2/2 Barbaracle, 2 Solrock, 2 Lunatone, with very basic Pokemon search, and more importantly, just targeted search or targeted draw through things like Hassle. You're also on 8 Fighting Energy and 2 Energy Retrieval in order to cycle your Lunar Cycle as much as possible, 4 Prism, 1 Legacy in order to activate Adrenopower, and a pretty consistent line to find all of your outs, 4 Premium Power Pro and a Brave Bangle to hit all of your nice damage numbers. Trying to get one-shots where you can, and being okay without it in cases where Boss's Orders is more available. For this I would recommend 1 Monkey Dory in order to make your matchup into Pult a little bit easier, and an extra Lily in order to help with your draw as well. Next, we're going on to Lightning. 2 recommendations for this. One of them just isn't really a one-prizer deck. It is Iono's Bellybolt with Voltorb. Voltorb is able to hit 20 for each Lightning Energy on all Pokemon. And so the big asterisk that you have on that is that you need to get a lot of energy at all times. And Iono's Bellybolt is how you accelerate them. It means that there's a lot of asterisks to get out, and there's always a 2-prizer in play. However, it is a 1-prizer attacking engine and a very formal 1-prizer field that you are sustaining at most times. So I wanted to include it in the video because it is another go-wide strategy. And something you would have noticed about our past few decks is that they are decks that are either trying to be really beefy or just hit for really, really high damage numbers. And that trend is going to continue into my second option for Lightning with a Dynamotor Box Toolbox. You have a bit of paralysis, you have high damage through Zapdos Thunderbolt, Mega Electros in order to do good sustained damage to multiple targets, Zekrom one-shots anything, Thunder Raid off Zero Aura does 230 to just any bench EX. It means that you have a lot of high damage output, a lot of high value, you're overall able to do a lot of good damage to anywhere that you need. Regigigas for the Pult matchup as well. Cramorant also helps with the snipe damage wherever possible, and also adds another typing of weakness by technicality, though you very rarely will ever need it. My recommendations here are 1 Latios EX and 1 Colress's Tenacity, just to have more maneuverability on bad starts. Moving into the grass types, we have Kangaskhan, Crustle. Of course, the way I said it, you can probably tell, I'm not a big fan of the idea of Kangaskhan being considered a 1-prize deck. However, this deck list brought by Harold Obernold, I'm pretty sure that's how I say it, and I apologize if I am wrong, but this list is pretty consistent. It has 4 Petrol, guaranteeing your searches for any of your relevant tools, Team Rocket's Factory in order to draw off your Petrol, Triple Airy in order to get rid of your opponent's denial pieces, 2 Hilda to guarantee your crustal routing, Bianca's Devotion because damage counting is very funny, Lysia's Appeal, which again is just basically a 5th boss in this deck, Hero's Cape for tankiness, Lumios to guarantee your bench, Spike Energy, Mist Energy, Growing Energy, all of the special energy that gives you all of the superpowers on your Crustle and Kangaskhan. Very consistent deck. I would just recommend you try it out for yourselves. However, if Kangaskhan is a bit too non-oneprizer, as it probably is for most people, Festival Lead by Leighton Catton is a relevant possible replacement. 4/4 Thwacky with the 1 Rillaboom in order to deal with Cornerstone. 4/4 Diplin, kind of. Festival Lead, you're able to hit for 100 damage 2 times, 200 damage. Damage modifiers increase incrementally because of it. For example, Kieran is now a 60 damage boost, Brave Bengal is now a 60 damage boost, and new to this version of the deck list is Lilligant for an additional 20 damage boost. Each of those will happen twice, so in the case of Diplin, you are hitting 100 plus 20, 120, 240, with just Lilligant and no Kieran or Brave Bengal, you one-shot Raging Bolt. Add in a Brave Bengal and a Kieran together without Lilligant, and you one-shot Bolt, and all sorts of weird damage ranges. Recommendations here: cut the Seeking, cut a set, add more Lilligant, make it to where you can chain into those higher base damage numbers easier, and make your mid games a little bit more consistent into things like Dragapult. Next up, we have Water. For Water, Seeking Festival Lead is always my go-to. It is a very consistent Festival Lead core with Mega Rayquaza to kind of patch up your high damage options. Lots of switches because it is something that you rely on a lot, having your Mega Rayquaza out, which is why we also have Wally. We run Black Belt over just to Kieran, and we also run things like Special Red Card to slow your opponent down a little bit. However, it's not as Water, all things considered. For this list, I would recommend trying out Max Belt or playing the other Festival Lead version, just because it covers a bit more matchups a bit more relevantly. Fire is not a very relevant weakness to hit, but if you want to have fun with Water, try this deck over here by Arcnext. It is a Misty's Gyarados deck. Discard the top 7 cards of your deck, 70 damage for each Misty Pokemon you discard this way, and for 1 Water Energy, you can do that a whole bunch. 4 Sacred Ash and 3 Great Hall Net means that you have 7 items that all shuffle Pokemon or energies back into your deck to cycle through and discard once again, which means that your Gyarados engine is pretty much non-stop. Misty's Lapras for consistency, Misty's Starmie for early game options into Dragapult, which is actually very, very relevant, shockingly enough, and for Misty's Psyduck, because the idea of being able to effectively just have an infinite cycle of your deck is kind of awesome, and it guarantees you stack for your Misty's Gyarados to guarantee at least +1 Pokemon per Psyduck in the grave. Next up, let's go into probably the best deck on this video. We have the Psychic deck for Slowking, made by the greatest player, or greatest deck builder of all time, Ross Coffin. Definitely iffy on if he's the greatest player, but definitely the greatest deck builder, and if you disagree with me, take a look at some of his old decks and you'll understand. 4/3 Slowking, 4 Telepathic Energy, get out your Slowkings as consistently as possible, 1 Lily's Clefairy in order to hit weakness into Pult, 2 Kyurem, Triforce, 110 to 3, completely wipes the field if Shaman isn't present, Metagross, 300 damage for no downside because the effect for you may discard 3 metal and have this do 150 more damage means that as long as you select one, the other happens, and if you can't fill the criteria for the other one, that's okay because they're a paired effect for this attack. Ridiculous how it is ruled that way, but I'm glad it is. Zero is in here as well, 210 damage to Snipe, knock Pheasantippides, pretty good. You also have 3 Wondrous Patch, chain your Kyurems, 4 Cypher, 4 Lilies in order to guarantee your Cypher into Kangaskhan, and Lilies just into whatever you may find. Consistent Pokemon search through Pokepad, Ultra Ball, Brave Bengal for damage fixing, Lucky Helmet for a bit of additional draw. Lots of cool things going on here. There are a lot of rule boxes. I will recommend Alakazam if you want to avoid rule boxes. I know it's not in the video, but you can find a lot of lists online. Alakazam just does tend to be countered by Mist Energy very heavily, and with special red card out in format now, it is a bit harder to consistently get full value out of, so I would be wary of that. For Dark, we have Rocket's Honchkrow. 60 damage for each supporter in your hand with Team Rocket in the name that you choose to discard. So of course, you run 20 supporters with Team Rocket in the name, 4 ways to search it, plus 4 Rotostick to search it, plus a Pokegear to search it, Team Rocket Factory to get consistent draw and cycle, Miracle Headset for good recovery, Team Rocket's Mimikyu in order to target Dragapult attacks and copy it, throw it right back at them, and 2/1 Team Rocket's Porygon 2 in order to have a late game attack when you're out of rocket things to do some damage, and 2 Articuno to make it to where you automatically beat Alakazam because they can't hit your basics and then you just torment them until the game is over. I would recommend trying out this list. Very fun. Another big Go Tall deck. Next up, another big Go Tall deck, Metal Doublade. This one is by Christos19 with weaponized swords. Reveal any amount of Edge/Doublade Honedge in your hand, 60 damage for each, very much like to Rocket's Honchkrow, but instead of trying to discard them, you just get to keep them all, which is kind of nice. 3 copies of Dawn, 2 Boss, 2 Petrol, 1 Lana, just a very consistent Pokemon search line, all things considered. 4 Rockets Transceiver in order to have good thin good search for your Petrol. Petrol into Precious Trolley guarantees your double Genesect, your Beldums, your Honedge, and your Shaman. And then double Genesect guarantees 4 Doublade one turn, 4 Edge/Slash the next turn, and suddenly you're hitting 360 easily. So it's a very simple linear combo. If you prize your Trolley, you're a little screwed, but that's okay. Later day. I would recommend trying out a Colress or 2 Ignition in order to get more consistent cycle, or a Mega Skarmory for a bit of snipe action and a bit of control in that way. Thankfully, this list does not run Lily, because if this list were to run Lily, unfortunately, you would very, very rapidly realize that you are running out of all of your relevant resources, because you Lily them all back into the deck, and you can't find them anymore. Very strong deck, very interesting list, and I would recommend you all give it a shot, because again, Go Tall is very fun. Next up we have Rocket's Porygon Z for colorless. This one is very similar to Honchkrow in the fact that it runs 4 of every single Rocket supporter. The difference is this one needs them all in the grave, the other one needs them all in deck. This one also runs 1 copy of Lily's Clefairy with no way to attack with it, so Rocket's Mimikyu can copy and one-shot Dragapults instead of just copying the attack, which is very cool. Team Rocket's Articuno is also in the deck, but it doesn't automatically beat the other decks in format that require that effect, because you have no way to really deal the damage back to an Abra. Because of that, I would recommend adding a one of Honchkrow or one of Sneasler, just to give you an option, all things considered. However, this deck is also very fun, has a lot of draw options, and can sustain pretty strong fields. I would recommend playing Honchkrow instead because it is a stronger deck with more options and more consistent lines, but to each their own. Next up, we have probably the biggest asterisk of the video. There is no dragon options. If you look at dragon single prizers, you can either build Koraidon Raging Bolt, or you can build Haxorus. And Haxorus is a good attacker. If your opponent doesn't have Mist Energy, but does have a Special Energy, you can knock it out. Or you can do 230 damage at the cost of making yourself Pult Fodder. My idea for how I tried to circumvent that was basically building a bit of a heavy fighting core with Raging Bolt, Thunderous Storm in order to target, remove Dracloaks or other frail Pokemon from the bench, going turn 1 with Energy, turn 2 Crispin is 90 Snipe, or being able to go Crispin, Ursaluna, Energy Switch will also get you to that 90 Snipe without relying on Teal Dance from a big Raging Bolt. Terragorn is also there to chain your Blood Moon, because this deck is a lot of hit with Soul Rock, Blood Moon afterwards, triple Premium Power Pro in order to occasionally get a good Cosmic Beam going, and other than that, just trying to find as many ways to give your opponent a frail bench to knock out as possible. I would recommend playing any other deck than this. Even regular Raging Bolt can do the same thing, but better. So do that while you can. With that, that does kind of bring us to the end of the video. That is every single type in Pokemon in single PRIZER form. Because of that, I want to quickly go over who I am, what I am. Before I do that, some engagement baiting. If you want to go down, hype the video if you're on mobile, like it if you're not. In the comments, leave me what type of Dragon oneprizer you would like to see in the game in order to give Dragon a chance in a oneprizer deck format, even without those weaknesses that all other types have to deal with. I will introduce myself while we're here. My name is Gazapniak. I have a Modern Regional State 2, a Regionals Top 8 and State Top 4 from way back in the day, but I also have Ace Trainer 2024-25 and 2025-26 seasons. I am a Rogue Specialist. I specialize in these oneprizer weird Jank Tank types of decks. History of Jank is probably one of my favorite video series ever, and so I would like to play around with the fun stuff a little bit. I'm a deck builder over a player, but I'm also a big researcher when it comes to information in the game, and so if you have any questions about old deck research or old format Rogue, let me know. I'll answer them wherever I can. I'm also looking for a team and or sponsor, but we'll see how that materializes later. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. You can also catch some other links here. I'll have the slides linked down below, including a few other links. Not any of the deck lists this time around, but I encourage you all to explore on the Limitless Deck Builder to see what other interesting deck lists are novel to you. That'll bring us to the end of the video today. Thank you all very much for watching. It is 2:24 a.m. for me. Good night.